Abby ran until her lungs burned. Rusty stayed close, his golden fur gleaming in the moonlight. The crystal from Luna felt warm in Abby's pocket. She couldn't stop thinking about the blue alien woman who had sacrificed herself so Abby could escape. They reached the old logging road just as the first light of dawn touched the sky. Abby leaned against a tree trying to catch her breath. Rusty sat at her feet, ears alert for any sound of pursuit. "What now, boy?" Abby whispered. "We're miles from town with no phone, no car, and alien hunters on our trail." As if in answer, they heard the rumble of an engine. Abby quickly pulled Rusty into the bushes beside the road. Through the leaves, she watched as an old pickup truck approached, its headlights cutting through the morning mist. The truck slowed as it neared their hiding spot, then it stopped completely. The driver's door opened and a woman stepped out. She was older, with gray hair tied back in a ponytail, wearing a park ranger uniform. "Hello?" the ranger called. "Is someone there? I saw something move." Abby hesitated. Could she trust this person? What if the aliens could disguise themselves? As humans, Rusty made the decision for her. He burst from the bushes, tail wagging, and ran to the ranger. "Well, hello there," the ranger said, kneeling to pet Rusty. "Where did you come from, handsome?" Abby stepped out from hiding. "He's mine. Sorry if we startled you." The ranger looked up surprised. "What are you doing out here at this hour? This is pretty far from any hiking trails." "My cabin was broken into," Abby said, deciding a partial truth was safest. "I ran. Been hiding in the woods all night." The ranger's face grew concerned. "Are you hurt? Do you need medical attention?" Abby shook her head. "Just need a ride to town. My name's Abby Miller." "Kate Larson," the ranger said, offering her hand. "Hop in. I'll take you to the ranger station. You can call the police from there." Abby climbed into the truck, Rusty jumping in after her. As Kate drove, Abby watched the woods carefully. There was no sign of the hunters or their seeker orbs, but that didn't mean they weren't out there, searching. "So what happened exactly?" Kate asked as they bounced down the logging road. "Not many cabins out this way." Abby had prepared a story. "I live in my grandfather's old place. Woke up to someone breaking in, grabbed my dog and ran out the back. They weren't normal burglars. They had strange equipment. I think they might have been after my grandfather's old military stuff." Kate nodded, though she looked skeptical. "We'll get the sheriff to check it out. You're safe now." Abby wasn't so sure about that. The ranger station was a small building, on the edge of the national forest. Kate led Abby inside and offered her coffee and a place to sit. Rusty curled up at Abby's feet, exhausted from their night of running. "Phone's over there," Kate said, pointing to an old landline on the wall. "Who do you want to call?" "Sheriff's office?" Abby thought for a moment. Who would believe her story about aliens? Who had enough power to do something about it? Then she remembered her old commanding officer from her military days. Colonel Patricia Reeves now worked at the Pentagon. If anyone would listen, it would be her. "Can I make a long-distance call?" Abby asked. Kate nodded. "Go ahead, take your time." Abby dialed a number she had memorized years ago but never thought she'd use. After several rings, a woman's voice answered. "Colonel Reeves's office. This is former Lieutenant Abby Miller," Abby said, keeping her voice low. "I need to speak with the colonel immediately. Tell her it's a Code Cobalt situation." Code Cobalt was their old unit's highest emergency signal. Abby had never used it before, not even in the worst war zones. There was a pause, then, "Hold please." A minute later, a familiar voice came on the line. "Miller, is that really you?" "Yes, ma'am," Abby said, relief washing over her. "I need your help. Something's happened. Something not normal." "Talk to me," Colonel Reeves said, her voice all business. "Not over the phone," Abby replied. "But I need extraction. Forest Ranger Station in Montana. I have sensitive information, and I may be followed." There was a long silence. Then, "Stay where you are. Don't talk to anyone else about this. I'll have a team to you in 3 hours." The line went dead. Abby hung up the phone, her hand shaking, slightly. She turned to find Kate watching her with a curious expression. "Everything okay?" the ranger asked. "Yes," Abby said. "Some friends are coming to pick me up. Mind if we wait here?" Kate shrugged. "Make yourself at home. I need to do my morning patrol anyway. Will you be okay alone for a bit?" Abby nodded. "We'll be fine. Thank you for everything." After Kate left, Abby sank into a chair and took the crystal from her pocket. In the morning light, it seemed to shimmer with inner fire. Rusty lifted his head to look at it, then put his chin back on his paws with a sigh. "I know, boy," Abby said, stroking his head. "I miss her too. I hope she's okay." But in her heart, Abby feared the worst. The hunters had seemed relentless, and Luna had faced them alone. 2 hours later, Abby heard helicopters approaching. She looked out the window to see 2 black military choppers landing in the clearing beside the ranger station. Armed soldiers in unmarked uniforms poured out, securing the area. Among them was a tall woman with short gray hair, Colonel Reeves. Abby went outside, Rusty at her heels. Colonel Reeves approached, her face stern as always. "Miller," she said, with a nod. "You look like hell." "Good to see you too, Colonel," Abby replied. Colonel Reeves glanced at Rusty. "Since when do you have a dog?" "Since I left the service," Abby said. "He's part of this. He found her." The colonel's eyebrows rose. "Her? Who's her?" Before Abby could answer, one of the soldiers shouted, "Movement in the trees! Multiple contacts approaching!" Abby's blood ran cold. "They found us." "Who found us?" Colonel Reeves demanded. "The hunters," Abby said. "We need to leave. Now." As if to confirm her words, the strange floating orbs, the seekers, emerged from the forest. They hovered at the edge of the clearing, pulsing with eerie light. The soldiers raised their weapons, but Colonel Reeves held up her hand. "Hold fire." "What the hell are those things, Miller?" "Alien technology," Abby said, the words sounding crazy even to her own ears. "Please, Colonel, we need to go. I have something they want, something that can save Earth." To the colonel's credit, she didn't question further. She barked orders to her team, and they all rushed toward the helicopters. Abby scooped up Rusty and ran, the crystal clutched tightly in her hand. They were almost to the choppers when the hunters appeared. 3 tall figures in shifting armor stepped out of the trees. They carried no visible weapons, but Abby knew they were dangerous. "Take off!" Colonel Reeves shouted to the pilots. "Now!" The helicopter's engines roared louder, their rotors spinning. Faster! Abby and the colonel reached the first chopper and climbed in. The soldiers provided covering fire, though Abby doubted normal bullets would hurt the hunters. As their helicopter lifted off the ground, Abby looked down. The hunters stood perfectly still, their featureless helmets tilted up to watch them leave. One of them raised a hand and a beam of blue light shot from its palm toward the chopper. The pilot swerved just in time. The beam missed them by inches, striking a nearby tree instead. The tree didn't burn or explode, it simply ceased to exist, leaving nothing but a smoking hole in the ground. "My God," Colonel Reeves whispered, staring at where the tree had been. "Miller, you better start talking. What have you gotten us into?" As the helicopter flew toward the nearest military base, Abby told her everything. About finding Luna in the forest, about the Nixorans and their planned invasion, about the crystal that contained their battle plans and the codes to activate their fleet. She showed the colonel the crystal, which glowed softly in her palm. "Luna gave her freedom, maybe her life, to get this to us. She said our scientists might be able to use it to create defenses against Nixoran weapons." Colonel Reeves took the crystal, examining it carefully. "And you're sure this alien, Luna, was telling the truth? This could be a trick, a way to get this object into our hands." "I trust her," Abby said firmly. "So does Rusty, and dogs are good judges of character." The colonel looked at the golden retriever, who was sitting calmly despite the noise and movement of the helicopter. "That's not exactly standard military intelligence procedure, Miller. With respect, ma'am, we're not dealing with a standard situation." Colonel Reeves sighed and handed the crystal back. "No, we certainly are not. She turned to one of her team. "Get me a secure line to Washington. I need to speak with the Joint Chiefs immediately." The soldier nodded and began setting up a satellite phone. Abby stroked Rusty's fur, thinking about Luna. Had the alien survived her encounter with the hunters? Or had she sacrificed herself to save a planet not her own? "What will happen now?" Abby asked the colonel. "Now?" Colonel Reeves looked grim. "Now we prepare for the possibility that we are not alone in the universe, and that our new neighbors aren't friendly." She eyed the crystal in Abby's hand. "And we figure out what secrets that thing holds." The helicopter flew on, carrying them, toward an uncertain future. Below, the forests of Montana gave way to fields and towns, a peaceful world unaware that its fate might rest on a small crystal and the sacrifice of a blue-skinned visitor from the stars. Rusty pressed against Abby's side, offering comfort as he always did. She scratched behind his ears, grateful for his steady presence. 3 days passed with Luna in Abby's cabin. Each day the alien grew stronger. Her blue skin began to shine more brightly, and the deep cut on her stomach slowly closed up. The silver liquid stopped leaking. Luna could now walk around the cabin, without help, though she still moved carefully. Rusty never left Luna's side. He slept at the foot of her bed and followed her from room to room. Luna seemed to like the dog's company. She would run her long blue fingers through his golden fur and make a soft humming sound that made Rusty's tail wag. Abby watched them with wonder and worry. She had so many questions but didn't know where to start. What was Luna's world like? Why did she come to Earth? What kind of invasion was coming? On the third night, as rain tapped against the windows and thunder rumbled in the distance, Luna sat with Abby at the kitchen table. Rusty lay at their feet, his chin resting on his paws. "I think it's time you told me everything," Abby said. "I need to know what's happening." Luna nodded. Her cat-like eyes reflected the light from the kitchen lamp. She placed her blue hand on top of Abby's. "My people are called Nixorans," Luna said in Abby's mind. Her way of speaking had improved. Now, instead of just simple words and images, she could share full thoughts and ideas. "We come from a world very far from here. For many hundreds of your years we have watched Earth." "Watched us? Why?" Abby asked. "To learn. To understand." Luna's mental voice sounded sad. "Some of us wanted to make friends with humans when you were ready. To welcome you to the stars. But others—" Luna's hand tightened on Abby's. In her mind, Abby saw huge ships hanging in the blackness of space. She saw weapons that could turn cities to dust. She saw blue-skinned soldiers preparing for war. "Others want to take Earth for themselves," Luna continued. "They are led by Commander Vex. He believes humans are too violent, too selfish to deserve such a beautiful planet. He plans to remove you." A cold fear spread through Abby's chest. "Remove us? You mean kill us all?" "Some would die fighting," Luna admitted. "The rest would be moved to work camps on dead worlds. Vex says it is mercy. I say it is wrong." Abby stood up and paced across the kitchen. This couldn't be real. It was too big, too terrible to believe. And yet the living proof sat at her table, an alien from another world. "How many ships? How many soldiers?" Abby asked. "Hundreds of ships. Thousands of soldiers." Luna's mental voice was grim. "They hide now behind your planet Neptune, waiting for the order to attack." "And when will this attack happen?" "Soon, very soon." Luna stood up and reached into a hidden pocket in her strange, shimmering clothes. She pulled out a small crystal that glowed with a soft white light. "That is why I came. I stole this from Vex's ship." "What is it?" Abby asked, staring at the beautiful crystal. "It holds the codes that will wake the invasion fleet. It also has maps of all your cities, all the places they plan to attack first." Luna held the crystal out to Abby. "I was taking it to your leaders when they shot me down. My ship crashed in your forest." Abby didn't take the crystal. "Why would you betray your own people to help us?" Luna's eyes seemed to grow sad. "Not all Nixorans agree with Vex. Many of us believe humans deserve a chance. You are young as a species, yes. You make mistakes, but you also create beautiful things. You love, you dream, you try to be better. She looked down at Rusty, who was watching her with trusting eyes. And you have these wonderful creatures who love you without question. Abby felt tears form in her eyes. An alien from another world saw more good in humanity than many humans did. What can we do? Abby asked. How can we stop this invasion? I must reach your world leaders, Luna said. I must give them this crystal and the knowledge it contains. With it, your scientists might be able to create defenses against our weapons. I can help with that, Abby said. I served in the military. I still have contacts, people who might believe me. Luna smiled, a strange sight on her alien face. I knew you were special when your dog found me. Just then, Rusty's head shot up. His ears stood straight, and a low growl rumbled in his throat. He stood and moved, to the window, the fur on his back rising. Luna went very still, her blue skin paled to a lighter shade. They've found me, she whispered in Abby's mind. Who? Abby asked, though she already knew the answer. Hunters, Vex's best soldiers. They tracked me through the stars. Luna moved away from the window. We must leave. Now. Abby's military training kicked in. She grabbed her backpack and quickly filled it with food, water, first aid supplies, and warm clothes. She put on her hiking boots and grabbed her hunting rifle from the closet. Will that weapon work against them? Luna asked, eyeing the rifle. Probably not, Abby admitted. But it makes me feel better. Outside, strange lights moved through the trees. They weren't flashlights or headlights. They were floating orbs of pulsing energy that drifted between the trees like ghostly bubbles. Seekers, Luna explained. They find targets for the hunters. Abby looked around desperately. We can't go out the front door. They'll see us. Is there another way? Luna asked. Abby nodded. The root cellar. It has an old tunnel that comes out in the woods. My grandfather built it during the Cold War. He was worried about nuclear attacks. They hurried to the kitchen. Abby pulled up the trapdoor hidden under a rug, revealing a ladder that led down into darkness. Rusty jumped down first, his claws clicking on the stone floor below. Quickly, Abby said, helping Luna onto the ladder. I'll close it behind us. They had just disappeared into the cellar when the front door of the cabin burst open. Through the crack in the trapdoor, Abby saw them. Tall figures in sleek armor that seemed to shift colors like oil on water. Their helmets had no faceplates, just smooth, reflective surfaces that showed no features. Abby quietly closed the trapdoor and slid a heavy bolt into place. It wouldn't hold them for long if they found it, but maybe it would buy enough time to escape. The root cellar was cold and smelled of earth. Shelves lined the walls filled with canned food and supplies. At the far end was a heavy metal door, the entrance to the tunnel. This way, Abby whispered, taking Luna's hand. Rusty trotted ahead of them, his golden fur barely visible in the darkness. The tunnel was narrow and low. Abby and Luna had to crouch as they moved forward. The air felt damp and cool. Water dripped somewhere in the darkness. The only light came from Luna's skin, which gave off a soft blue glow. Where does this lead? Luna asked. About half a mile into the forest, Abby said. Near the old logging road. If we can reach it, we might be able to find a car or truck to use. They had gone about halfway when they heard a loud crash from behind them. The hunters had found the trapdoor. Run, Abby yelled, no longer caring about being quiet. They sprinted through the tunnel, bumping into the walls in their haste. Rusty barked and ran ahead, showing them the way. Behind them, strange electronic sounds echoed. The hunters were in pursuit. Finally, they reached the end of the tunnel. A rusty ladder led up to another trapdoor. Abby climbed first, pushing it open and emerging into the night forest. She helped Luna up, and Rusty jumped out last. They were in a small clearing surrounded by tall pines. The moon shone bright overhead, casting silver light on the grass and trees. In the distance, Abby could see the logging road winding through the forest. We need to reach that road, Abby said, pointing. Then we can... A bright light suddenly lit up the clearing. Abby looked up to see a small craft hovering above the trees. It wasn't like any aircraft she had ever seen. It made no sound and had no visible engines. It just floated there, shining a spotlight down on them. "Seeker ship," Luna said, her mental voice filled with fear. "They've found us." From the tunnel behind them came sounds of pursuit. From the woods ahead, more floating orbs appeared, drifting toward them like hungry ghosts. They were trapped. Luna grabbed Abby's hand. "Do you trust me?" she asked. Abby looked into the alien's strange eyes and nodded. "Yes." Luna pressed the glowing crystal into Abby's palm. "Then take this. Hide it. If I'm captured, they must not find it." "I'm not leaving you," Abby protested. "You must," Luna insisted. "The crystal is more important than either of us. It might save your whole world." Before Abby could argue further, Luna stepped away and raised her arms. Her blue skin began to glow brightly, lighting up the entire clearing. "Run, Abby," Luna said. "Take your loyal dog and run. Find your leaders. Show them what's coming." Then, Luna began to sing. The sound was like nothing Abby had ever heard, beautiful and terrible at the same time. It made the air vibrate and the ground tremble. The seeker orbs wavered and flickered, confused by the sound. Taking advantage of the distraction, Abby whistled for Rusty. "Come on, boy." With one last look at Luna, whose body now shone like a blue star in the night, Abby ran toward the logging road. Rusty raced beside her, leading the way through the darkness. Behind them, Luna's song rose to a deafening pitch. There was a flash of blue light so bright that it turned night to day for an instant. Then silence fell over the forest once more. 48 hours later, Abby found herself in an underground facility that officially didn't exist. The complex was buried deep beneath a mountain in Colorado. Colonel Reeves had brought her here directly from Montana. The room they gave Abby was small but comfortable, with a bed, desk, and bathroom. They even allowed Rusty to stay with her, bringing in a dog bed and bowls for food and water. But Abby knew they weren't guests. They were assets being protected and studied. Scientists in white lab coats had taken the crystal for testing. Military officers asked Abby the same questions over and over. What did Luna look like? What did she say about the invasion? How did she communicate? Abby answered truthfully each time, though she kept some details to herself, like the gentle touch of Luna's mind against hers, and the strange feeling of connection she had felt with the alien woman. On the third morning, Colonel Reeves came to Abby's room. "Get dressed," she said. "They found something in the crystal. They want you there when they show it." Abby quickly put on the clothes they had given her, a simple jumpsuit with no insignia or markings. Rusty followed as Colonel Reeves led them through long concrete corridors to a large room filled with computers and strange equipment. Men and women in both military uniforms and lab coats worked at various stations. In the center of the room was a table with the crystal floating above it, suspended in some kind of energy field. The crystal spun slowly, its inner light pulsing like a heartbeat. A tall man with thick glasses approached them. "Dr. Alan Foster," he introduced himself. "I'm leading the research team studying the crystal. What have you found?" Abby asked. Dr. Foster adjusted his glasses. "More than we expected. The crystal isn't just a data storage device, it's alive in a way. It responds to certain stimuli, particularly to you, Ms. Miller." "Me? Why me?" "We believe the alien, Luna, as you call her, somehow linked the crystal to you specifically. It contains vast amounts of data, but it only reveals certain information when you're present." Colonel Reeves nodded. "Show her." Dr. Foster led Abby to the crystal. "Just stand here and look at it. Don't touch it yet." Abby did as instructed, with Rusty sitting obediently at her feet. At first, nothing happened. Then, as if sensing her presence, the crystal's glow brightened. A beam of light shot out, projecting a three-dimensional map of the forest where Abby had found Luna. "It's showing the crash site," Dr. Foster explained. "We've already sent teams there, but they found nothing. The alien ship must have had some kind of cloaking technology." The map zoomed in, highlighting a specific area deep in the forest, far from any trails. A pulsing blue dot appeared, marking a spot about 3 miles from Abby's cabin. "That's not where I found Luna," Abby said, confused. "She was injured in a clearing about a mile from my home." "We think this is showing the location of her ship," Colonel Reeves said. "The message said it was damaged but not destroyed." Dr. Foster nodded excitedly. "If we could find the ship, study its technology, the advances would be incredible, faster than light. Travel, energy weapons, possibly even ways to defend against the invasion fleet." The map disappeared, replaced by another image, a complex diagram of what looked like a wrist device. Labels in strange alien script floated beside different parts. "What's that?" Abby asked. "We're not sure," Dr. Foster admitted. "But the crystal only shows this when you're present. We think it's meant for you specifically." Colonel Reeves crossed her arms. "Which brings us to why I brought you here today. We're sending a team back to Montana to find that ship. We want you to go with them." Abby blinked in surprise. "Me? Why?" "The crystal responds to you. The alien trusted you. And your dog," Colonel Reeves nodded at Rusty, "seems to have a talent for finding aliens. Plus, you know the terrain." It wasn't really a request. Abby could tell that much from the colonel's tone. "When do we leave?" she asked. "1 hour," Colonel Reeves replied. "Pack light." As they prepared to leave, Dr. Foster approached Abby with a small case. "We've been studying the diagram from the crystal," he said, opening the case. Inside was a device that looked similar to the one shown in the hologram, a slim metallic band with strange symbols etched into its surface. "You made this?" Abby asked, surprised. "We tried to copy the design," Dr. Foster explained, "using materials we found in the crystal itself. It's not perfect, but our tests show it functions in some capacity." "Functions how? What does it do?" "Doctor?" Foster shrugged. "We're not entirely sure, but the crystal was very insistent that you should have it." Abby took the device hesitantly. It felt warm to the touch and surprisingly light. As she held it, the symbols began to glow with a soft, blue light, the same color as Luna's skin. "It's activated," Dr. Foster said, excitement in his voice. "It wouldn't do that for any of us." Abby slipped the band onto her wrist. It adjusted itself automatically, tightening slightly until it fit perfectly. A pleasant, tingling sensation spread up her arm. "How does it feel?" Colonel Reeves asked, watching closely. "Strange," Abby admitted, "but not bad. Like it's connecting to me somehow." An hour later, Abby found herself in a military helicopter flying back to Montana. With her were 6 Special Forces soldiers and 2 scientists, all heavily equipped for what they were calling a retrieval operation. Rusty sat beside her, seemingly unfazed by all the military hardware surrounding them. The wrist device had not done anything else since she put it on, but Abby could feel its presence, a warm, comforting weight on her arm. Sometimes she thought she could hear a faint humming, almost like Luna's voice, but she told herself it was just her imagination. They landed in a clearing about a mile from the location shown on the crystal's map. The soldiers immediately secured the area while the scientists unpacked their equipment. Colonel Reeves had stayed behind at the facility, but was in constant communication with the team leader, a stern-faced man named Captain Davis. "Miller," Captain Davis called. "You and the dog take point. Let's see if he can find this ship." Abby nodded and whistled for Rusty. "Come on, boy. Find Luna's ship." Rusty looked up at her, his brown eyes seeming to understand. He sniffed the air, then began trotting into the forest. Abby followed, with the soldiers and scientists close behind. They hiked for almost 2 hours through dense woods. The location on the map proved to be in a part of the forest that was rarely visited. No trails, no logging roads, just untouched wilderness. Rusty led them confidently, only occasionally stopping to check his direction before continuing. Finally, they reached a steep hillside covered in thick bushes and fallen trees. Rusty stopped, his tail wagging excitedly. He barked once, then looked back at Abby. "He's found something," she told Captain Davis. The captain nodded and signaled his team to spread out. The scientists readied their equipment, including devices, to detect energy signatures and radiation. Abby approached the hillside where Rusty was pawing at the ground. There was nothing visible, just dirt, rocks, and vegetation. But the dog was insistent, digging with his front paws and whining. Suddenly, the device on Abby's wrist began to glow brightly. The symbols pulsed with blue light, and that humming sound grew louder. Without thinking, Abby raised her arm toward the hillside. A beam of light shot from the wrist device, striking the hill. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, like a curtain being pulled aside, the hillside seemed to shimmer and fade away, revealing a sleek silver craft half buried in the earth. "My God," one of the scientists whispered. Luna's ship was smaller than Abby had expected, about the size of a city bus, but with a streamlined shape that reminded her of a teardrop. Its surface was covered in the same strange symbols that appeared on the crystal and her wrist device. Parts of the ship were damaged, with blackened areas and deep gouges in the hull. "Cloaking technology," Captain Davis said, his voice tight with both excitement and fear. "Stay alert. We don't know what else it can do." The soldiers approached cautiously, weapons ready. The scientists followed, scanning the ship with their equipment. Abby and Rusty went last, the wrist device still glowing and humming. As they neared the ship, a section of the hull slid open silently, revealing a doorway. Everyone froze. "Could be a trap," Captain Davis warned. "Or an invitation," Abby countered. She looked down at her wrist device, which was now pulsing in a rhythm that reminded her of Luna's voice in her mind. Before anyone could stop her, Abby walked forward, Rusty at her heels. She stopped at the entrance to the ship and peered inside. It was dark, but as soon as she stepped closer, soft lights came on, illuminating a corridor with smooth walls and a floor that seemed to glow slightly. "Ms. Miller," Captain Davis called. "Stand down. Wait for the team." But something was pulling Abby forward, a feeling, a memory, a connection. She stepped into the ship, and Rusty followed without hesitation. Inside, the air was cool and smelled faintly sweet, like flowers after rain. The corridor led to a larger room that Abby recognized as a control center from the images Luna had shared in her mind. There were no chairs or conventional controls, just smooth surfaces with glowing symbols and floating holographic displays. In the center of the room was a pedestal with a depression that looked exactly the right size for the crystal. "This is it," Abby said softly. "This is where the crystal belongs." Her wrist device suddenly projected a hologram, a small image of Luna, looking directly at Abby with those strange, cat-like eyes. The next 48 hours passed in a blur of activity. The military cordoned off the area around Luna's ship, setting up a makeshift base with generators, computers, and communication equipment. More scientists arrived, along with high-ranking military officers and government officials. Through it all, Abby remained at the center. The wrist device, which the scientists now called the interface, responded only to her. With it, she could access the ship's systems, read its data, and even control some of its functions. It was as if Luna had designed it specifically for her. Rusty stayed by her side constantly. The golden retriever seemed completely at ease in the alien ship, often leading Abby to important discoveries before the scientists even realized what they were looking at. "How does he know?" Dr. Foster asked as Rusty pawed at a panel, which then opened to reveal a compartment filled with what turned out to be medical supplies. "I think Luna left some kind of imprint on him," Abby said, watching as Rusty wagged, his tail proudly at his discovery. "A connection. Maybe the same kind she made with me." Late on the second day, Colonel Reeves arrived by helicopter. She looked tired but determined as she strode into the command tent they had set up near the ship. "Status report," she demanded. Captain Davis stepped forward. "The scientists have managed to adapt some of the alien technology to our systems. We now have limited ability to detect Nixaran ships, even when they're cloaked. And we've figured out how some of their weapons work." "Not enough," Colonel Reeves said grimly. "According to our calculations, Vex's fleet will reach Earth by tomorrow morning. The President has been briefed. NATO and all major powers are on high alert, but what can fighter jets and missiles do against ships that can make themselves invisible?" "We're still working on the ship's defensive systems," Abby said. "There's a shield technology that might be adapted to protect key locations." Colonel Reeves nodded. Every little bit helps, but unless those resistance ships arrive sooner than expected, we're looking at a very one-sided battle. Just then, an alarm sounded from inside Luna's ship. Abby's wrist device flashed urgently. She rushed inside, with Colonel Reeves, Captain Davis, and several others following. In the control room, the holographic display showed the solar system again. The red lights representing Vex's fleet were moving, accelerating toward Earth faster than expected. "They're coming early," Abby said, her heart sinking. Luna said we had 2 days. It's barely been one. "How long?" Colonel Reeves asked. Abby studied the display, somehow understanding the Nixeran measurements. 3 hours, maybe 4. The colonel cursed under her breath. Not enough time to evacuate major cities. Not enough time to deploy what little countermeasures we have. She looked at Abby. "Can this ship fly? Could we use it against them somehow?" Abby shook her head. "The drive system is damaged. It can hover, maybe achieve low orbit, but nothing more." Rusty, who had been sitting quietly, suddenly stood up. His ears perked forward, and he gave a short bark. Then he trotted to another part of the control room and pawed at the floor. "What is it, boy?" Abby asked, following him. The floor panel slid open at her approach, revealing a hidden compartment. Inside was a device that looked like a smaller version of the crystal, but with a deep red color instead of white. As Abby picked it up, information flooded into her mind through the wrist interface. Her eyes widened. "It's a key," she said. "A master override for Nixeran ships. Luna must have stolen it along with the crystal." "Override to do what?" Colonel Reeves asked. "To shut down their systems. Weapons, engines, life support, everything." Abby looked up, excitement building. "But we'd need to get it onto Vex's command ship." "How? We can barely get this ship off the ground, let alone reach their fleet in orbit." Abby thought for a moment, then looked at the crystal still spinning in its pedestal. "We don't need to go to them. We can bring them to us." Using the interface, Abby accessed the ship's communication system. She composed a message in Nixeran script, which the device somehow allowed her to understand and write. "What are you doing?" Dr. Foster asked, watching in fascination. "Sending a message to Vex," Abby explained. "Telling him that Luna escaped and returned to her ship, that she has the crystal and plans to use it to contact the resistance." She looked at Colonel Reeves. "He'll come for it himself. He has to." Colonel Reeves nodded slowly, understanding the plan. "We're setting a trap." "Yes," Abby said. "But we need to make it convincing, and we need to be ready when he arrives." The next 3 hours were the most intense of Abby's life. Military forces converged on the area, hiding in the forest with what weapons they had managed to adapt from Luna's technology. The ship itself was prepared, with Abby using the interface to activate what defensive systems still worked. Through it all, Rusty remained calm, as if he knew exactly what was happening and trusted that everything would be okay. His confidence gave Abby strength. Just as their preparations were complete, the sensors in Luna's ship detected multiple craft entering Earth's atmosphere. They were coming directly to their location, just as Abby had hoped. "They took the bait," Captain Davis said, watching the displays. Abby nodded. "Now we wait." They didn't have to wait long. 3 sleek black ships appeared in the sky above the forest, their hulls shifting color like oil on water, the same material as the hunter's armor. They circled once, then landed in a triangle formation around Luna's ship. Through the ships, external cameras, Abby watched as figures emerged from the black ships. Most were hunters, their featureless helmets reflecting the forest around them. But one figure was different, taller, with more elaborate armor decorated with glowing red symbols. "Commander Vex," Abby whispered. Vex approached Luna's ship slowly, flanked by his hunters. He carried no visible weapon, but Abby knew he didn't need one. According to the data in Luna's ship, Nixeran commanders had extensive cybernetic enhancements that made them living weapons. "Are the charges set?" Colonel Reeves asked over the radio. "Yes, ma'am," came the reply. "Ready to detonate on your command." "Bitte, plan was simple but desperate. They had planted explosives, enhanced with technology from Luna's ship around the landing area. If they could damage Vex's ships enough to prevent their escape, they might have a chance to use the override key. Abby watched as Vex reached the entrance to Luna's ship. He raised a hand and the door slid open just as it had for her. He was expected. The ship would recognize him as a Nixaran commander. "Get ready," Abby said into her radio. "He's coming in." She retreated to the back of the control room, hiding behind a console with Rusty at her side. The red override key was clutched tightly in her hand. Heavy footsteps echoed through the ship as Vex entered. Abby heard him speaking in the musical language of the Nixarans, probably ordering his hunters to search the vessel. Finally, he entered the control room. Through a small gap in the console, Abby got her first clear look at the alien commander. He was imposing, nearly 7 feet tall, with blue skin darker than Luna's and eyes that glowed with an inner red light. His armor seemed to be a part of him, flowing over his body like living metal. Vex approached the crystal, still spinning in its pedestal. He reached out to touch it, his fingers hovering just above its surface. That was the moment Abby had been waiting for. She pressed a button on her radio, the signal to detonate the explosives. The world shook as multiple explosions rocked the area outside. Vex staggered, surprised by the sudden attack. Through the ship's cameras, Abby saw his 3 ships engulfed, in flames and earth, damaged but not destroyed. "Now!" Colonel Reeves shouted over the radio. Soldiers burst into the ship from hidden positions, firing weapons enhanced with Nixaran technology. The shots didn't kill the hunters, but they disrupted their armor, making them vulnerable to conventional weapons that followed. Vex roared with anger. He swept his arm and an invisible force knocked several soldiers off their feet. His eyes searched the control room and landed on the console where Abby was hiding. "I know you are there, human," he said in perfect English. Luna's pet, the one she chose. Abby took a deep breath. This was it. The moment everything depended on. She looked at Rusty, who watched her with trusting eyes. "Stay," she whispered to him. Then she stood up, facing the alien commander. Vex was even more intimidating up close. His face was angular, with high cheekbones and a strong jaw. Symbols similar to those on his armor seemed to move beneath his dark blue skin. "Where is Luna?" he demanded. "You should know," Abby replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "You're the one who captured her." Vex smiled, a chilling expression on his alien face. "Yes, and she has been most helpful, though not willingly. Her mind is strong, but not strong enough to resist our methods." Anger flared in Abby's chest. "You hurt her." "I extracted information," Vex corrected. "As I will from you. Where is the override key? I know she gave it to you." Abby's hand tightened around the red crystal in her pocket. "I don't know what you're talking about." Vex took a step closer. "No? Then perhaps I need to be more persuasive." He raised his hand toward Abby. Pain shot through her head, as if someone were driving needles into her brain. She gasped and fell to her knees. Rusty growled and leapt forward, teeth bared. Despite Abby's command to stay, the dog launched himself at Vex, sinking his teeth into the commander's arm. Abby Miller lived alone in her grandfather's old cabin deep in the Montana woods. She liked it that way. After working as a nurse in war zones for many years, she needed quiet. Her only friend was Rusty, a big golden retriever with soft fur and warm brown eyes. Rusty was smart and loyal. He always seemed to know when Abby felt sad about the things she had seen in the wars. The cabin sat far from any town. Tall pine trees surrounded it, and a small stream ran nearby. Abby spent her days growing vegetables, reading books, and taking long walks with Rusty. She didn't miss her old life. Here, no one got hurt. No one died. It was just her and Rusty and the quiet woods. On a cool fall morning, Abby woke up to make coffee. Sunlight streamed through the kitchen window as birds sang outside. It seemed like any other normal day, but Rusty was acting strange. He stood by the door, his tail still, ears perked up. He made a low whine and scratched at the wood. "What's wrong, boy?" Abby asked, setting down her coffee mug. Need to go out? Rusty barked once, urgent and sharp. This wasn't his normal let me out bark. Something was different. Abby opened the door, expecting Rusty to do his business nearby as he always did. Instead, the dog bolted into the trees, running faster than Abby had ever seen him move. "Rusty, come back," she called, but the dog was already disappearing into the forest. Abby cursed under her breath. She grabbed her jacket, her old army boots, and, out of habit from her nursing days, her medical kit. Something told her she might need it. The forest floor was covered with fallen leaves that crunched under her boots. Abby followed Rusty's paw prints where she could see them and listened for his barks when she couldn't. The morning air felt crisp in her lungs as she pushed deeper into the woods past places she and Rusty normally walked. "Rusty," she called every few minutes. "Where are you?" After almost a mile of walking, Abby heard Rusty's bark again. It came from a small clearing ahead. She rushed forward, worried her dog might be hurt or trapped. The clearing was about 50 feet across with tall grass and wildflowers. Rusty stood in the center, but he wasn't alone. He stood guard over what looked like a woman lying in the grass. "Hello?" Abby called, approaching slowly. "Are you hurt? I'm a nurse, I can help." As she got closer, Abby stopped short. Her heart pounded in her chest. The figure on the ground wasn't a human woman at all. The creature had a woman's shape. 2 arms, 2 legs, a face with eyes and mouth, but her skin was a deep shimmering blue that seemed to glow from within. Her hair looked like strands of silver light floating around her head. Across her stomach was a long, deep cut that leaked a silvery fluid instead of blood. Rusty whined and looked from the blue woman to Abby, as if saying, "I found her. Now you fix her." The creature's eyes opened. They were large and black with vertical pupils like a cat. Those strange eyes fixed on Abby's face. The blue woman reached out one slender hand toward her. Abby felt a strange sensation, like fingers gently touching her mind. Suddenly, images flashed in her head. A sleek silver ship sailing among stars, explosions, other blue-skinned beings with weapons, a desperate escape, falling toward Earth in a ball of fire. Then one word formed clearly in Abby's mind, though the blue woman's lips didn't move. "Help." Abby's nursing instincts took over. Whatever this being was, she was hurt and needed medical care. Abby knelt beside the alien woman, setting down her kit and opening it. "I'll help you," she said, not sure if the creature understood English. "But I don't know anything about your body. You'll need to show me what to do." The alien woman's hand touched Abby's wrist. More images flowed into Abby's mind. Strange tools, silver liquid in vials, methods of healing that made no sense to her. But also simple things she did understand. Pressure to stop bleeding, clean water to wash wounds, bandages to protect injuries. Abby worked quickly. She cleaned the long gash with water from her canteen, applied pressure until the silver fluid slowed, then wrapped the wound with bandages from her kit. All the while, Rusty sat nearby, watching with intelligent eyes, sometimes licking the alien woman's hand when she winced in pain. "You need better care than I can give you here," Abby said, "but I don't think I can take you to a hospital. They might not understand." The alien's eyes closed briefly, then opened again. In Abby's mind came a clear thought. "Your den, safe there." Abby nodded. "My cabin, yes, we can go there, but you're too big for me to carry alone." As if understanding the problem, the alien woman began to change. Her body shrank slightly, becoming lighter, less dense. Abby stared in wonder as the blue skin shifted and adjusted. "That's helpful," Abby said, trying to stay calm despite the impossible things she was seeing. "Can you stand at all?" With Abby's help, the alien woman rose to her feet. She swayed dangerously, and Abby quickly moved to support her, putting the blue woman's arm around her shoulders. The alien felt strangely light, as if her bones were hollow like a bird's. "Rusty, home," Abby commanded. The dog barked once and began leading the way back through the forest. The journey to the cabin was slow and difficult. The alien woman could walk, but just barely. Every few minutes they had to stop so she could rest. Her skin, which had been a vibrant blue when Abby first saw her, now looked paler, almost translucent in places. By the time they reached the cabin, the sun was high overhead. Abby helped the alien woman inside and onto her bed. Rusty jumped up beside her, curling protectively near her feet. "You rest," Abby said, pulling a blanket over the shivering blue figure. "I'll make you something to drink. Water, at least. I don't know what your kind eats." In her kitchen, Abby's hands trembled as she filled a glass with water. An alien, a real living alien, was lying in her bed. Everything she thought she knew about the world had just changed. When she returned to the bedroom, the alien woman was sitting up, looking around the cabin with curious eyes. When she saw Abby, those strange cat-like eyes seemed to smile. "Thank you," said a voice in Abby's head. The words were clearer now, more formed. "Your kindness is unexpected, precious." Abby handed her the water. "What's your name? Do you have one I can say?" The alien woman made a sound like wind chimes in flowing water. Abby knew she could never repeat it. "In your language," came the thought in her mind. "You may call me Luna." "Luna," Abby repeated. "I'm Abby, and this troublemaker who found you is Rusty." Luna reached out to stroke Rusty's golden fur. "Good creature. Saw me. Knew I needed help." Abby sat on the edge of the bed. "What happened to you, Luna? Why are you here? Are there others like you coming?" Luna's face grew serious. Her gaze met Abby's, and a stream of images and feelings poured into Abby's mind. Danger, urgency, a warning. "Others are coming," Luna's thoughts told her. "But not like me. They mean harm. I came to warn." Abby felt a chill run down her spine. "Warn about what?" she asked. Luna's answer was simple but terrifying. "Invasion.